I'll just do a quick intro. I am pleased to welcome everyone to this session on Not All Tech is Programming, exploring non-coding careers, which I think often do not get recognized, and yet probably half the careers in technology are non-technical or non-coding, let's put it that way. This is going to be, I'm sure you all are going to enjoy this conversation. I'm introducing our speaker today, Ryan Looney. Hello, Ryan.
Hello.
Ryan started her tech journey in 2004 after earning a master's degree in instructional technology from the UVA School of Education. And after a few unexpected twists and turns along the way, she now finds herself happily working in a technology adjacent, that word I always have a hard time with, role at Overleaf, a small scale focused on, a smaller scale up focused on LA TechX authoring tool. Boy, I'm not familiar with that. That scientists and researchers use. Ryan spent most of her career teaching and training colleagues, customers, and users, and is currently the customer services director at Overleaf, and I think is going to do a fantastic job helping us learn today. So Ryan, over to you.
Yay. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here today. CWIT has been a really great organization to kind of drop into from time to time, and I was really excited that they were going to do their summit this year virtually, and so I'm glad to be here to participate. So today we're just going to talk about some skills for non-coding careers in tech. So what might those skills be? Might you already have them? Where can you get them? Some career paths and jobs that don't require coding. And how to get that confidence that you need to, confidently hang with all those tech bros out there. I do have a few poll questions and a Q&A on slido.com. So you don't need to register or anything. You can just go to slido.com and enter that code that's on this slide. And it's also at the top of other slides as well. So as everybody's kind of getting settled, I'm going to just put up a Slido slide here, and you'll see that Q&A if you go to slido.com and 90871, you'll be able to answer this poll. So hopefully it will show up for us, and I don't see any responses yet. Yay. Okay, so we've got a student here. This is good. And we'll see those responses come up as people answer them. So I'll just give you a minute or two to let you answer. I feel like I should answer this, but I don't have that up. And you can do this on your computer or mobile device. Any browser will work. So far we've got some mid-career folks, late career, early career, student. I consider myself, I guess, mid-career. I've seen various definitions of these phases, that are like strictly age-based, which for me doesn't really work because this is my second career. So I'm a little older, or if you took time out to go have and raise children, that those age-based things don't quite work, but looks like we've got a lot of mid-career folks, some students, and early career as well. So that's a nice, interesting group. The next question I had was, do you currently work for a tech company? And so I would say, yes, I work for a tech company that is pretty focused on producing a software as a service product. And I know that we definitely have a lot of folks here who are working on in tech companies. So a bunch of no's. That's great. Okay, so why on earth would you want to work for tech but not work as a techie kind of a person? And so there are a lot of reasons that you might want to do that. So for folks who are earlier in their career, maybe you want a broader view of tech or company structure so that you can advance later on into a management role or senior leadership. Maybe you're just looking for that position or path that suits you. If you were in Nicole's keynote session this morning, trying to find that kind of position in the company that matches your, your personal values is a really important part of job and life satisfaction. Again, kind of matching with those personal values, finding a company culture that you like, but not knowing how to code or not knowing how to kind of get your foot in the door. There are, regular jobs that exist in tech companies. And so that can sometimes be a pathway into a tech position, is to start sort of non-technically, particularly for bigger companies that have like sort of more well-developed career paths and career ladders, that kind of thing. That can be a really great way to get in. If you're mid-career, you may want to change careers into or out of tech. You may want to advance into management, or you may need to advance into management in order to get promoted and get a raise. Maybe you just need a change. I know for myself, certainly having kids definitely changed my work dynamic. And then as they got older and could make their own sandwiches, it changed it again. And then again, regular jobs exist. Maybe you just want to go work somewhere else. So I'm a big proponent of just, it doesn't matter why. You might have a lot of great reasons for wanting to go work in tech. So go do what you want. So what kind of skills do you need when you're looking for a job in tech? And Elaine noted that right now the tech industry is more stable than other industries. And I would say that is the case. And I'll talk a little bit more about the company that I work for, but we've been actively hiring. We were on a bit of a hiring freeze earlier in the year, but now we're making up for lost time. I just had a new starter on my team. And we, as everybody's working from home, everybody needs those technological solutions to make that happen. But some of the skills that are really, really valuable when you're looking for a non-tech, or I love the term technology adjacent job in a tech company, are soft skills. And I hate that term. I hate the term soft skills, that they're sort of, indefinable, or not as, they're a little more delicate or something like that. I think that they're called soft skills only because we're really bad at identifying what those skills are. However, they are, really legit skills. And when I hire, I look for people who have these soft skills, and we interview people with a particular eye to qualities such as empathy, written communication, oral communication, and other people skills. We know when we hire both, coders and non-coders, we're a pretty small company still. We have about 40 people. So it's important that people are able to communicate with those around them. So our entire recruiting and hiring process is sort of designed around quantifying those soft skills. And of course, critical thinking is a really important skill as well. So, I sort of lump that in also with problem solving, which definitely is a technical skill as well. But, critical thinking is really important to be able to solve problems and to innovate in a company, whether that's innovation in technology or even in innovation in the way that you do things internally or in your processes. And then, of course, technical skills. So I don't want to say you don't need any technical skills. And certainly there are some jobs where you don't need to acknowledge the existence of code or coding. But it's really important to, acknowledge that those things exist. And you are going to need some technical skills. At the very least, you need to be able to use the tools that your company is using internally. And then leadership, that's another great skill set that we could spend, a whole conference talking about. What does that mean? And everybody, who wants to be a leader has to define this for themselves. But when you sort of hang your hat on what leadership means to you, you can develop those skills. Even if you're not currently in a leadership position, there are ways to develop those skills. So I'll talk about some of these resources for developing skills. And I know these slides are a little bit text heavy. We're going to get to the more fun pictures later. And then just also, if you have any questions or comments, you can go to slido.com and use that code 90871. And the Q&A is open the whole time, or you can put them into the chat right here. But there are a lot of different resources for gaining these skills. The last session, folks talked about getting their technical skills through a boot camp or an apprenticeship program. And sometimes these soft skills don't have those nice sort of packaged experiences to get you up to speed on the skills that you need. Certainly experience is really important. You know, and there's sort of no way to get that other than by putting yourself out there and perhaps failing a time or two. Formal education is also an important resource, but I don't think it's necessary. And in fact, my company has recently taken out the requirement for a bachelor's degree from all of our job listings. Networking is really important. So coming to events like these, meeting new people, and also just maintaining those connections with the people that you've already met is important. You know, networking isn't just speed dating where you go from one person to another, but it's really building and developing relationships throughout the course of your career. Other places you can learn things, MOOCs. So like those big courses, you can take some, you know, like MIT courses with 10,000 other learners as well. The micro learning. So there are all kinds of like little tiny nuggets of information all over the place. That can be, you know, a YouTube video that you find surfing somewhere, podcasts. There are like some of the products that I use at work actually have some really great like short video series or short webinars, that kind of thing, where I can drop in for 10 minutes or half an hour and learn something new. And then sort of those formal online learning courses as well. So I have used all of these at one point or another: Udemy, Coursera, LinkedIn Learning. And, you know, sometimes it's, you know, like I can't tell you how many times I've started that Python course and gotten to the tip calculator and then dropped out. But I've also had really great success, which I'll talk about in a couple of more minutes. And then, of course, professional organizations are really important. Right now, there are a lot of conferences like this one that are free or cheap. And for those of you who have a professional development budget at your job, I know I'm not going to a conference this year, but I've been spending my budget on memberships to different associations and taking advantage of some of those lower cost remote options that there are. And then one of the best resources, I think, is just talking to people and asking them how they got where they are. That kind of goes along with networking, but it's a little more in depth. And I think it's a really great conversation starter to just ask people, what's your story? Why are you here? I've been asked that on occasion. It always sort of like, you know, it takes me aback a little bit. Like, what do you mean? What's my story? But, you know, it's always really great to hear people's journeys. I have this slide with a list of a bunch of jobs that I'm not going to read out to you. I'll make my slides available to you somehow once this conference is over, but you can take a look at this, and you know, there are tons of these different jobs that are sort of either not tech at all or sort of technology adjacent. And, you know, look at this and sort of think, what do you like? I really, really, really hate sales. That is not a thing I'm ever going to do. But I love training. So, you know, what pairs well with training? You know, sometimes like marketing and writing go together. I've done some marketing work, even though I hate sales. I can do a little marketing here and there. Customer success and sales go hand in hand as well. So customer success used to be called account management. So those things go hand in hand. Product and support in some places can go hand in hand. And that's certainly an important part of what my team does, is we work really closely with our product team to set the strategy for our product moving forward. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or any comments. There's also a Q&A on Slido. So a little bit about my story. I love Office Space so much. The answer to that question that the Bobs are asking here is the scene. There's a slightly off-color word or two, so I didn't want to put it in here. But is the scene where the guy says, "I'm a people person," and when people ask me what I do, I'm like, that's kind of it. I'm the people person, which is hilarious because I don't see myself as particularly a people person in my life. But yeah, I kind of bridge that divide between technical and non-technical groups all the time, between customers and the product team, or customers and the dev team. And so how did I get there? So I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and now I've got some fun pictures to look at. So the quote that's up there is one of the many quotable quotes that was said at my graduation, which is one of the most famous commencement speeches ever. It's Nora Ephron's speech to us freezing cold and soaking wet graduates of Wellesley College in 1996. Like one of the previous panelists, I majored in sociology, which is really great if you want to get through college, and not really great if you want to get a job right away. I had worked the IT help desk when I was in college, so really, I guess my tech journey maybe started in like 1993, and not just in 2004 when I really went to work in tech. So I always kind of had that knack for helping users and for training folks. But, you know, I will sheepishly admit that I kind of wasted my time there. I got really good. If any of you remember Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing, that's what we would do during downtime on the help desk is we would have typing races. And so I was like quite a mediocre student and very unmotivated at work. And I kind of fell into getting my private pilot's license when I was in college. And so I'd kind of fly here and there when I had time or money. And by, you know, probably May of 1996, when it was still snowing in Massachusetts, I was ready to move to Florida and just go fly full time. So I did. So I did a little bit more flight training and did a lot of flight instruction. And then this picture, I think, is my last day actually flying for the airlines in 2003. Being an airline captain, yes, it was very exciting. It was terrifying for about 90 seconds every leg and super boring the rest of the time. And then on either end of that, there was a lot of time in comfort inns in like Des Moines and Scranton. Scranton, I actually think that was a Holiday Inn Express. That was a good one. And by the time I left, I had started at the airlines pre 9/11. 9/11 happened. And then it was post 9/11, and flying really changed both for passengers and for pilots. The industry was really in upheaval at that point, and I was sort of in a place both in that job and in my life where I needed to think about next steps. And was that going to be, you know, becoming an instructor for my airline? Or, you know, was that going to be totally pivoting into something else? And I had been flight instructing. That's how I built all my hours. So that was really definitely a comfort zone for me. But also I knew that, you know, being an airline flight instructor is, you know, not terribly family friendly. You know, simulators are booked 24/7. So like my recurrent training was in Montreal in January at 11 p.m. So, you know, do I want to do that for, you know, the foreseeable future? It took a leave of absence, and that's when I went to UVA, to the School of Education there, and got a degree in instructional technology. So a little bit more focused than that sociology undergrad degree. And I really wanted to focus on working in libraries. I had gotten a master's degree through distance ed starting in 1999, before distance ed was cool. I get a box of VHS tapes and textbooks every semester. And so I actually became very good friends with librarians who helped me do everything before anybody had any idea, you know, what proxy servers were and single sign-on and all of that. So I started at the library working mostly with patrons, doing educational programming, and that was and also we had a media studio there, so we'd have students, nursing and med students, and physicians come down and help them learn how to use GarageBand and iMovie and do podcasting and all those things that were sort of brand new in 2004. But again, I kind of knew, I'm like, oh man, if I want to advance in a library, then I'm going to have to get another graduate degree. And I did not want to do that. So somewhat fortuitously, kind of at this time, I was thinking about leaving. A grad school classmate who was working at Scholar One, which is here in Charlottesville, recruited me in. And so off I went to Scholar One. And when you talk about your core values and things that feel right to you, when you show up on your first day and there's this on your desk with like a card with like funny things from all your coworkers in there, it's like, yep, this is it. This is a really good place for me. And I was there for nearly 9 years and I really loved it. I purposefully mommy tracked myself. I was slightly less than full time, which at that time was really nerve-wracking to negotiate for that. Nobody was working remotely. And I really pushed hard to work remotely 1 day a week after my second child was born in 2008. And I think I might have been the first person locally to actually have a regular telecommute day. And it seems ridiculous now that there were so many restrictions around it, but there you go. And so I did a lot of technical writing, documentation, instruction, project management, some account management as well. And lo and behold, unbeknownst to me, I now worked for a tech company. And like I never had sort of thought that would be my thing. But I learned really fast what the difference between product versus project management was. And I learned what QA is and what it is not. And I learned about defects and bugs and Jira and tracking and all kinds of things that my sociology degree from 1996 could not have possibly prepared me for. But, kind of fast forward and, when my kids were older and in school and more independent, and I realized like, okay, I think I'm done being, content making lateral moves and I want to advance. And I just felt really stuck. I just felt like I couldn't advance where I was. And I thought about, well, maybe I should change careers entirely again. Or perhaps, I should go more heavy on the tech, but, that just didn't feel right to me. It wasn't the thing that lit me up. It wasn't the thing that motivated me. What motivated me was, building personal relationships and basing the work I did on those. So talk about the power of networking. Somebody I had met through my time at Scholar One posted a job description on his LinkedIn, which was a perfect fit. And I had an interview, and 15 minutes after this 15-minute telephone interview, I had a job offer. And I had actually gone to work somewhere else very briefly, as Lane knows, between Scholar One and Overleaf. And I have to say, like, that was a really great experience. I think it wasn't necessarily a great fit for me, but it was a really good experience to have a big change in my job after a very long time somewhere. It made it a lot easier for me to jump when I saw that opportunity that was really the one for me. And, so I started out there, again, as an individual contributor, but it's a small company. And, sort of the promise of working for that startup is you can advance. And, after a year and a half or 2 years there, I felt like I was stagnant again. And what was I going to do? Like I didn't want to hop careers or hop jobs once again. And I reported into the CEO. And we were on a video call, like a regular catch up, and I could see the support tickets scrolling in the reflection of his glasses. And I was just thinking that SOB is doing something else while we're supposed to be having a conversation. And I really I stopped mid-sentence. I just stopped talking. And he stopped scrolling and he immediately apologized. Like, he's a decent person and he was overworked, and he said, I'm just having trouble kind of juggling everything. And there's always some emergency that's coming up, and support. And I said, you could put somebody else in charge of that, and I could do it. And I had no experience in support, really. Definitely not that frontline support at all. And he was just so desperate. He was like, great, let's go. And we had one full-time support person at the time, which is wonderful because she's so competent and so amazing. It wasn't the kind of thing I could have built without her. And now we have 7 people, and we've expanded support's role within the company to include project management, product management, documentation, and training. So we really touch a lot of areas in the company. And then I had sort of put off sitting for my PMP exam, project management professional, and I finally did that because I had some professional development money to spend, and passed that on the first try. So that's not really something that's helping me out a ton right now, but it's one of those great sort of like gatekeeping credentials. Like, sometimes people will say you have to have a PMP to apply for this job, and now all of those are open to me. So what kind of lessons have I learned? I mean, I think pivot. I really, really worked hard to not put the Friends sofa in the stairwell pivot GIF here, sorry. But, I thought libraries were my thing. And then I found out there were other ways you can contribute to a better world, other than just being in academia. Raising your hand, just saying, oh, I'll do that thing, and not being afraid to kind of step forward for something that you're not sure you'll be successful at. Particularly in a small company, there's a lot of opportunity to raise your hand. And just say, oh, I want to do that, even if it's not in your job description. Chances are they're going to be so relieved that somebody wants to do it that people will help you be successful. And, certainly if you're in the kind of company where people aren't collaborative and they aren't supportive of you in your endeavors like that, then you need to find a different company. You should be surrounded by people who want to see the best out of you. Be willing to learn, be willing to ask questions. Any job I've ever had, I use the, hey, I'm pretty new here still line until like it's ridiculous. Like, I think I'd been at, Scholar One for like 5 years before I stopped using that line. So if you don't feel comfortable asking the question as yourself, ask the question as your newbie self. Pursuing certification, but sensibly, for me, the PMP was really useful. It didn't cost me that much out of pocket. I did a Udemy course that cost me $9.99. Joseph Phillips on Udemy, in case you're looking to get your PMP, that's the winner. And I was able to get reimbursement from my company for taking the test. So that was really great. And then, just develop your story, connect the dots. I guarantee I have gotten interviews for jobs I wasn't qualified for because I will never let airline pilot roll off the bottom of my resume. My resume is 2 pages because I'm never letting that come off. It's a great conversation starter, but I've had to successfully kind of like build a narrative around why it makes sense to leave this supposedly super glamorous and well-paying career. And spoiler alert, I made $11,000 my first year flying, but that's a whole other story. And then negotiate. And I think there was a session yesterday that talked about negotiating. A lot of employers expect it. You have very little to lose, I think, in most cases. There's always something to negotiate. It's not just salary, it can be other things. For me, it was negotiating for a 32-hour-a-week schedule. The networking. Every job that I've got that I loved, I got because I knew somebody there. And, just having those people who can kind of vouch for you on the way in the door is really helpful. And then volunteering. So I'm always a big proponent of volunteering. So I do stuff outside of work. I volunteered for Toastmasters and have been an officer on that, which also is a great place to learn public speaking, although it's tough right now because of COVID. But I've also volunteered for the Charlottesville Track Club, and I've been on the board for that, and I've been on the board for Wild Rock, and just those things that, let you practice skills that maybe you're not sure if you want to get paid to do. Take those opportunities to practice those skills. That's a really great place to practice those like soft skills that we talked about earlier. And then, yes, apply for that job. You've probably heard it before, but women won't apply for a job until they meet 100% of all the qualifications on the job ad. And that's a trap. You'll never meet it all. And, honestly, as somebody who's done quite a bit of hiring in the past couple of years, we never have somebody who meets 100%, but occasionally we have people who stand out for some reason. They're different, and that's great. Like, we love hiring people with sort of non-traditional work histories and that kind of thing. So yes, apply. We will talk to you. Somebody will talk to you. And that sort of leads into confidence. Like, how do you build and display that confidence? And I think it's okay to not be confident. I think that all of us have suffered to some degree from imposter syndrome, and just knowing that, all those little voices in your head saying, no, 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 those are just the imposter syndrome talking. Other ways you can do that is seek mentors, and also seek mentees. You have things to offer the people coming up below you as well. There's a sort of great visual of, when you get to the top of the ladder, reach a hand down. You don't even have to be at the top of the ladder. You just have to be off that bottom rung. And that can be a really valuable way for you to do some self-reflection and to develop some leadership skills. And also just to help somebody else. There's sort of nothing better than that. Notice and appreciate the things that are different about you. Those are things that are really great, and they are assets. And don't be afraid to be different. Like, if you have blue hair, have blue hair. Like, if the company won't hire you because your hair is blue or your tattoos are visible, then you don't want to work there. Build your narrative. And be prepared, just kind of be prepared for opportunities that might come your way. Have some of those leadership skills before you're a manager. Go ahead and develop those if you can, so that when those opportunities come your way, you're ready. And then also, I think I should give a shout out for these kind of groups of women. I have long been a fan of the subversive power of groups of women. So hang out with subversive women. And then sum up, technology adjacent might be for you. Write your narrative, seek your strengths, and keep an open mind. I do have some resources here that I'm going to whiz through so that we can get to a little bit of Q&A, and we'll see if we have any Q&A. So you can either put it in the Slido Q&A, so slido.com 90871, or you can put things in the chat. And if you would like to be on the screen, I think you can request that, and I can add you in.
You can absolutely request it, and one of us will add you in for sure.
All right, good.
Yeah, so if you guys want to ask a question, feel free to put it in the session chat, or we'd love to have somebody else come up here too to ask a question.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. I'll kind of kill a little time while everyone's thinking about their questions here. I loved hearing your story. I think I forgot about you being a pilot, right?
Yeah, I don't talk about it.
But it's funny
because it tends to derail the conversation a lot, but it is very useful for getting job interviews. Yes.
Yeah. I like fell into, technology on a super accident.
Yeah.
And the thing I'll point out about that is my first job was in a technology division in a financial services firm, which was by chance the greatest place to learn technology at the time I was learning technology. But the reason I got the job is because I had project management skills from being on a ton of committees in college where we were planning events.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
literally got the job in technology because I did casino night at, my
Hmm.
college and, and had that experience. Now I was in a leadership role in that, that event planning organization and organization. But my point is that I, I gained the skills in a voluntary capacity. So I love the note that that you had on there, and I have always found that every opportunity I've had since then is because I raised my hand to say I'll do that when no one else wanted to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
Really.
having a problem and saying like, hey, we should solve for this, and I'm happy to do it. And I noticed you had a couple of those too, so I just wanted to ring in that I've had those moments too. And now I run a technology organization,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I came in a non-coding role, and I've always had a non-coding role. I've never written a line of code in my entire life, but I do and have learned everything I need to know to run a technology organization, down to making very important multi-million dollar decisions about the technology we deploy. So I think that, there's a lot to be said for this route, and it gets often underdone in terms of the value of it and also the opportunities in it. Okay, here's
Yeah.
a question. All right, Sabrina. Do you have ideas on how to build soft skills? It feels like experience assists more with this, but are there ways we can build earlier in our careers without experience? Um, I'll let you start with Ryan.
Yeah, so definitely you can build soft skills. And when I think about soft skills, there are some that admittedly are really hard to teach. Things like empathy, which for us in our support organization is really important. But for other soft skills are things like writing. Purdue online writing lab, Google that. It is an amazing resource for writing. Take a creative writing class. It's not technical writing, but it will get you in the habit of writing things and editing them. I think that's so important when you're talking about writing. And there are lots of other ways to develop soft skills. Toastmasters for public speaking, I will sing their praises all day long. And just kind of think about, what is the soft skill that you want to develop? When you're talking about people skills, well, you need to interact with people to develop those skills. And so whether that's through employment or whether that's through a volunteer gig or whether that's through, networking at events like these, like the more you practice at anything, the better you get at it. And you don't have to do that in a job situation for a lot of those skills.
Yeah, I would say I would echo that. I'm going to jump on that bandwagon and just add that almost all those soft skills you can learn anywhere. You're literally, your family can help you. If you just are intentional about saying, hey, this is something that I want to get better at, whether it's, how you communicate via email or how you express your ideas, whatever that is, if you are intentional with the people around you to say, I would like to get your feedback on this particular area I'm trying to grow, will you give it to me? I think you'll find that you're going to get, that feedback's going to help you grow that skill. And I think you can also, again, do that in organizations like Charlottesville Women in Tech, right? If you're interested in, volunteering for an organization like ours, I'm not saying us, but if there is one that, that you have a passion for, see if there's a committee you can get on. And then also say to the people on that committee, this is the skill set I'm trying to develop. Is there something I can do here to help develop that? I think you'll get those opportunities.
Yeah, and my other secret weapon, I think I have it on the, let's see. Oh, I'm gonna have to skip my slide here. I had it back on the resources slide here. My other secret weapon is askamanager.org. If you're not reading that blog, you are missing out. Like, just saying, it's a lot of like, how do I behave at work kind of questions, which seems so like, like, why do I need to know this? And there's some really wacky scenarios that cannot possibly be true on there as well. But really, that is like a secret weapon for like, how do I write a letter of resignation that won't burn that bridge? Or how do I write that cover letter? Like those kinds of things are like super awesome on that blog.
That's funny. I must be missing out. I don't know it.
It's time. There's so much content.
Well, any other questions for Ryan? Okay, great. Well, we are winding up to 1:45. So thank you so much, Ryan, for sharing all of your really practical. Oh, wait, I have one request. Let's see. We'll see if this works. Let's see if we can get. Oh, no, I guess not. Darn it.
Darn it.
Yeah, I thought I got somebody on. Okay, well, I'm sorry if I somehow technically messed that up. Now you're like, yeah, she's not that crazy lady. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for joining this session, and particularly want to thank Ryan for sharing all of her wisdom and her personal experiences, which I thought was terrific. And all of the tips and tricks around thinking about a career, and in specifically thinking about moving into the tech industry and what to consider. I think there's a lot to consider and a lot to offer. And I think that the road is fully open for individuals who are interested in coming into this market. So hopefully that's given some folks on this session some ideas. So thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I want to thank everyone who's in this session and who's been with us all day. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so thrilled to have you and hope you got something out of today. Thanks so much.